Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? Happy quarantine. So, let me get right down to it. So, there are a couple of things that I want to get off my chest. And I'm usually not this channel is usually not for this stuff, but I want to get it out into the public. I just feel like venting, so what I want to talk about is the kente cloth thing that the Congress did because of the protests for George Floyd. Um, and they're not just for George Floyd; they're for just years and years of stuff building up of police brutality. And and I also wanted to talk about HBO getting rid of Gone with the Wind. So all in all, in general, this is all about symbolism of the Black Lives Matter movement and the police brutality. There's a difference between having symbolism and then just overusing it to the point where it doesn't become symbolism anymore. And I feel like a lot of people have profited off symbolism. Well, I don't want to say profited. Like to 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 the same people, I feel like they, even with the symbolism, they'll look side at these corporations who do this. Like in Congress, I know they're doing some police. There was a fly. They were talking about police reform bills and stuff. Um, and it's good that they're doing it federally because federal means that like the whole nation will have to will have to ab- abide by it instead of and follow it, not just state. Um, the the thing with the kneeling, I don't understand because a few years ago, Colin Kaepernick was doing it, and then y'all were just like, not specifically Congress, but y'all were just like, this is offensive to everyone. Why are you kneeling during the flag? It's like he publicly came out and said, it's not, I'm not doing anything bad to, it's a, for one, it's a peaceful protest, and two, I'm not saying I don't love America. I'm saying that there's police brutality, and y'all are saying this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, but yet you love to hide behind police, and you love to hide behind violence, and you think violence is the answer to everything. If you're scared of something, you kill it. Why? When all what we do is basically exist, y'all are killing us for no reason. And so now I'm seeing, and especially with Roger Goodell coming out and saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean Colin Kaepernick, I finally realized what Colin Kaepernick was saying. It's like, no, he even got a veteran. He wasn't, and people are saying, oh, he's disrespecting veterans, when he even got a veteran, one of his friends who was a veteran, who was white, even said, you know what, maybe you shouldn't, because initially he sat during the national anthem, but then he's like, maybe you shouldn't sit, um, maybe you should actually kneel instead. And I agree with him that sitting is actually disrespectful, actually, to any national anthem. Basically, you're supposed to, you should, any country national anthem, wherever you are, I feel like sitting is disrespectful. Yeah, kneeling is a lot more respectful. So that was kind of weird, but like I get the kneeling, but what was even more cringy was the fact that they put kente cloth on. No, that that was the cringiest part. about it. Because it's kind of disrespectful in a way. It's an oxymoron. It's kind of disrespectful because you're saying it's true. African, a lot of Black Americans are not just a lot of Black Americans, heck, even white people have roots from Africa, because we all know the first human was a Black human. The first modern human was a Black human, was a Black person. And if you don't know that, you actually do know that. You're just lying to yourself. I'm pretty sure a lot of even scientists who are white nationalists are just lying to themselves. And so, but I don't want to get into that. It's putting Black Americans as Africans. We have the same identity. Black Europeans, Black Asians, Black Caribbeans, Black Americans, Black South Americans have the same identity as Black Africans, which is not in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I grew up on a different continent than my father. So my dad's still here, but he grew up on a different continent than I was. And those continents are very, you gotta it's a minute to get over to Africa. And it's like you don't take into account the geography. You don't take into account the geography of Africans and Black Africans and Black Americans. You don't take into account the culture that was given to us by Black Africans and Black Americans. You don't take into account the time period that we live in. I mean, my dad was born around the time not just Nigeria, but a lot of African nations were just becoming independent from the European overlord. So you got to take that into account. I was born, and this was in like around the 60s, and I was born in the 90s. So you're taking into account that his about his language. Unfortunately, a lot of Black Americans don't know their roots. They don't know their original language because they don't know who their family members are. They don't know. They probably have family members in in America that they don't know of because of slavery. So you can't say. So that's basically saying we all have all Black people have one identity. All Black people are foreigners. And the cloth, the cloth, it's kente. It's just one tribe. It's not, you're basically saying Africa is one tribe. Africa is not one tribe. Africa is not one country. I keep forgetting how many countries. There are 54 or 56 in Africa. Before the Europeans came, every tribe was considered its own country with its own laws, with its own leaders. So you're basically still calling us foreigners. You're thinking just because you wear a kente cloth means that you're for Africans, means that you're for Black Americans. We're not. When you're wearing the kente cloth, you're saying we're all Africans, we're all foreigners technically. You're basically contradicting yourselves. When Black Americans have been fighting for decades, I want the same rights as you because you were born here. That's like saying me your ancestry is from Europe. So even if you were born here, even if you were born in America, you're still European. It doesn't make any sense. It's like me wearing, like, saying some. It's like me wanting to agree with my white friend who was born here and wearing a kilt, and they would be confused at first, and then they would understand, but then they would get offended at the same time, because it's just like, first of all, I'm not Scottish, and even if I was Scottish, that's I'm not that's the wrong clan that I'm from, because that you think all Scottish people just wear kilts just because it's fashionable. But no, they wore kilts because it told people which clan they were from. It told people what their class was from. That's what cloth does. And you can't just wear one cloth and say it's okay. And it's like, I don't know who was part of that, but it was I don't know who created that idea, but it was just like, no, that I don't know why they didn't. Did they talk to black people? Did they talk to one black person saying that? I don't know. Um. Uh. And I've been going online to see a lot of Black Lives Matter posts. I'm not that big on social media, but like, when I use my Amazon Fire, like, I go online and the first thing I see is Black Lives Matter. I go online to, like, almost the usual sites I go to, Black Lives Matter. Okay, Black Lives Matter. That's fine. But it sounds like you're just doing it to go with the flow. How do I know the Black Lives Matter actually means something to you? Can you tell me how? And then I heard about them getting rid of cops, and I think the other show was Live PD. And I watched Cops when I was a little kid. I didn't really watch it religiously, but I've seen a few episodes and I knew what it was. And basically, it's police brutality, but it's funny police brutality because the people on the show are like trash, and the usually they're not big suspects that they get, but they're usually like trash people, like, or blue collar crimes basically. And it's like, I don't mean like trash people like they're just I mean, like, it could be like just white trash people, I don't know. But I recall that statement, white trash. I don't want people to get offended, but I didn't mean it. But it's just blue collar crime, people just being stupid. Y'all love to come for the police brutality and cops. And now, finally, after all these years, you're finally like, maybe we should get rid of it because it's promoting police brutality. Um, and another thing I saw was HBO got rid of Gone with the Wind. Now, it's the antebellum South. Let's just be forward. Slavery existed during the antebellum South. During the South and Civil War, during the South and Civil War, um, uh, and to the people who say that it glorifies slavery, it does. I don't think it does. I really do not think it does. Um, it's not saying slavery was awesome, because slavery wasn't awesome. I hope a lot of people know that it wasn't good at all. And it definitely wasn't promote. I don't think it was promoting that people. I don't think it was promoting how people were how it. I can see how people would say that it made people think it looks like the slaves were happy being slaves, but you gotta realize a lot of the slaves, the main slaves that were depicted were the house slaves. And the reason usually the house slaves were the ones who were above the field slaves. They thought they got the house slaves to think they were better than the field slaves, because I don't have to do all that manual labor, so I get to be in the house, and I'm probably the master's favorite. And the reason, and probably one of the reasons why they were so obedient, is because the master scared them. The master was the overlord. The master would scare them into obedience. So then they would get indoctrinated to thinking, if you do what the master says, then you won't get beaten by the master. And so that's why you don't see people run away. That's why you don't see, and it's just like, this is what happened. Not everyone was trying to run away because no one wanted to, because there were people who were literally scared to death of their masters and they didn't want to die. That's why they were acting so obedient towards them. And when I saw that, the first time I saw that movie, I didn't get that they were happy being slave, because I don't think anyone was happy being slave. If you were I would understand, if I would understand people asking for help. That's not people asking for someone to help them. That's not slavery. You don't call someone who's asking you to help slavery, but they are therefore called slaves, so therefore it is bad. I know it is bad, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but while I I see it as the whole movie was about Scarlett O'Hara. The whole movie was about Rhett Butler. The whole movie was about Ashley. Well, Ashley was in out. But it's the definition of white privilege. I feel like it's the definition of white privilege, and this is how the South functioned. They thought they were full of them. They thought they were full of themselves. They thought they were the bee's knees. They thought they were that all that and then some. They didn't care. They knew slavery was bad, but they didn't care. They would work off the back. They would thrive off the broken backs of the people who actually built the South, and they would beat them, because they would still beat them, even though they were working for them with no, even though the slaves were working for them with no money, when they weren't even getting paid. It's just and if a white person saw this, then I feel like they would be like, I don't want to be Scarlett O'Hara, because what she did, she went out of her way to manipulate, walk all over people just to get what she wanted. And at the end of the movie, she still felt like she wanted to get what she needed to get what she wanted. to say that they're glorifying slavery doesn't make any sense to me. Because yes, it was a big plantation. They had frilly dresses. They had balls. They had they had men who dressed elegantly. It's just, it's what happened back then, because, and they didn't need to worry about this because they knew they had the slaves who were working for them, who were doing all this work behind the scenes, and they got no credit. And I don't know, like the director of this, he knew that he was like, this is not gonna, it wasn't his job to fix race relations between black people and white people, but he knew he was, he basically knew it was, he basically kind of knew it was a story not to have it centered on racism, but he knew racism existed, and he was not trying to make it seem like slavery was a good thing. He didn't want it to, that's not what he wanted to make, that's not what he wanted to make the thing into. It's hot, I need my fan. So what I'm saying is that Scarlett O'Hara, if you watch the movie and not just hearsay that, oh, there's slavery in it, so it's automatically bad. It's like, if you watch the movie and if you actually there to watch the themes of the movie, you know Scarlett O'Hara is a terrible person. And a lot of people around her are a terrible person. I think Rhett Butler already knows he's a terrible person. And that's what white privilege can do to you. It eats you up. It makes you think that you were born into white privilege, and you know the stuff that you were doing is bad, but you can't give it up, because you can't give up your privilege. And so that's throughout the whole entire movie. She says, after all, tomorrow's another day. When we keep seeing her lose more and more stuff, lose her home, she lost her father. She gets married to Rhett Butler, even though he has money. She knows that she doesn't love him. And technically, and I don't even think he loved her. But he thought he liked her because he thought she was pretty. So he wanted her, pursuing her throughout the whole movie. And at the end she finally gives in, and she finally says, you know what, I'm gonna go after him because he has money and I've lost everything, and I still deserve all the best. So they have a child. She dies, and she was like 5 years old, and she dies. And then at the end of the movie, you know what? Rhett's just like, you know what? I'm done. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And that's the famous line at the end of the movie. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And she's not even that heartbroken. I feel like she's not even that heartbroken, because I remember I've only seen the movie once, but it's 3 or 4 hours long, and so it's very easy. So for me, I have to retain. When am I gonna watch a 3 or 4 hour movie again? It's like, I'm gonna retain everything. The very last line in the whole entire movie. After all, tomorrow's another day. She says that throughout the whole entire film. After all, tomorrow's. So she lost her father, she lost her slave, she lost her husband, she lost the man that she was actually in love with. She lost, but couldn't marry because he was already married to someone else. She lost her husband, she lost her daughter, she lost everyone. But in the end, she said, after all, tomorrow's another day. That is the definition of insanity. That is the white privilege. Her white privilege has made her insane. The definition of insanity is when you keep doing something and you get little to no progress out of it. And that's, she keeps thinking tomorrow's going to be different. But we all know if you don't change something in your life, nothing else is going to change. It's not going to have a snowball effect, and it's not going to change the other parts of your life. So you're just going to be stuck in this hole for the rest of your life until you die. This circle of insanity, this circle of going of up and down, up and down, up and down, and you're not going to get anywhere in life. And that was Scarlett O'Hara. If anything, I would keep it up. I would, to scare white people who still think that white privilege is not a thing. Like, this is what you have. This is why Amy Cooper is such a big thing. It's like, we black people were in their minds, we were thinking, white people know that they have this privilege and they know that they have the power to complain. They know that they have the power to use their white card against us. And Amy Cooper completely verified it. Oh, you're gonna film me? I'm gonna call the police. This African American man is threatening me. She says on the phone, this African American man is threatening me. Escalated out of nowhere. You were the one who was doing something illegal. You didn't have a leash on your dog. White privilege hates having someone tell them what to do. And I still love Gone with the Wind. But I haven't read the book yet, though. So, and like, for HBO thinking, oh, you know what, let's get rid of Gone with the Wind. That will make people understand that we support Black Lives Matter. And that will make people think that we're hip and progressive. And that will make people probably subscribe to us. Hearing that from you makes me think you are desperate for money. You will do anything for money. And that's the problem with this society that we are living. This is the problem. This is why all the protesting are breaking out. Because of people like you who can say whatever they want. Anyone can say whatever they want. Anyone can do whatever they want. Anyone can say anything. Anyone can do anything to tell people, to calm people down. But it's your actions that make people start talking about you in a good way. I'm taking away Gone with the Wind. Why can't you donate to a Black charity? Why can't you create a scholarship in George Floyd's name? For action, because I don't know why that's so hard. And it's just like, what I'm trying to say is this symbolism is getting too much. Symbolism is not going to bring George Floyd back to life. Symbolism is not going to bring a Tatiana Jefferson, or I think it was Jackson, I'm sorry if I forgot her name, back to life. Symbolism is not going to bring Botham Jean back to life. How come babynames.com actually makes a more impressionable thing than HBO? They actually put the names of all the people we have lost up, saying these were the names of babies that were killed. Babies that belong to mothers and fathers. That was a more powerful statement than HBO or Amazon could ever make. But y'all just want to take away Gone with the Wind and say Black Lives Matter. That means nothing. That means nothing. So you gotta chill with the symbolism and actually do. Y'all never heard of the phrase actions speak louder than words. Can we please go by that phrase instead of whatever puts money in my pockets? That's all I gotta say for now. Bye.